Hello everyone, welcome to this week's GT Sport Daily Race C race review. Group 3 machinery, Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. We've got some great racing in here, we've got some awesome overtakes, there's a couple of bumps, there's some punts and there's a couple of penalties to work our way through as well. So here's the settings for this one. 13 laps of Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, tyre wear at ×8, fuel consumption at ×3, which won't be an issue for these cars. We've got the medium and the hard tyre available. That hard tyre is mandatory, and there is sort of several strategies to sort of work your way through this one. So you can do the one stop, starting on the medium tyres, finishing on the hard tyres, starting on the hard tyres, finishing on the medium tyres. There is the scope for a two-stopper, but it doesn't really generally work out very well just due to the traffic. And you can also do the no-stop. Now, we didn't actually really look at the no-stop in the strategy guide, but it turns out just through the nature of these cars being so difficult to overtake in, and the hard tyres actually lasting quite well, and sort of generally cars on the medium tyres kind of get themselves into all sorts of trouble and fighting with each other. The no-stop just kind of hanging in there at the beginning and then kind of holding on at the end can actually work very nicely. And we will look at that strategy in one of these races. First up, we are going to do a one stop here. We're starting on the hard tyres, we're actually starting with a no qualifying time, so we're doing the big headed guys stuff. Starting at the back, thinking we're good enough to work our way forward. Let's see if that's the case. We're in the BMW M6 with a Williams 1999 Formula 1 car livery on it. Looks very, very good. And it doesn't take long in this race for the first lap shenanigans to begin, particularly towards the back of the grid. So I think we've made up two positions already. One car went off at the hairpin, another car went off at turn number 3. Got a couple of cars here, look like they're on the medium tyres coming through from behind us, or certainly that Porsche would be on the medium tyres. The other driver there, Alex Honey GT, he's a very, very fast driver, regular driver in the top splits of the FIA, a World Tour driver as well, I believe, but certainly one of the quickest guys out there. Managed to get a run on us down the straight. There was no point in fighting with him. The best thing I can do is filter in behind and just let him get the traffic out of the way for me and hopefully follow him through. At this point I didn't know whether it was on the medium tyres or the hard tyres, but the fact that he was faster than me doesn't mean he's not on the same tyres. Very likely he is on the hard tyres as well. Car serving a penalty towards the end of the lap there. Net gain of 1 position over the course of the first lap, so I think we actually passed 3 cars, but we were passed by 2 cars in the process as well. So coming to the end of lap number 2 here, we're kind of struggling to hold on to the cars in front. We're under pressure from the Citroen behind. I'm pretty sure they were on the medium tyres. They've got the inside for turn number 1, but don't make it too difficult for them. Again, at this early stage in the race, I'm just trying to hold on in these tyres and hopefully start making my moves towards the sort of tail end of this race when we're going to change to the mediums. Well, not the tail end of the race, we're going to change to the mediums fairly early, but obviously we're looking to try and get most of our overtaking done towards the end of the race, once other drivers start to make their pit stops. But yeah, we've been overtaken there by the Citroen. You see he opens up a gap pretty quickly on us, but we're still in the slipstream and there's a big group of cars not too far in front, so just at this point we can hold on in that slipstream and just get dragged along. It's all good for us. Midway through lap number 4 here, you can see there's been some squabbling. The cars at the front, we're up into 12th position here. I think a car had made the pit stop, but that's a group of 5 cars there. One car going to go off, very common mistake coming out of, is it Sheen that corner's called? And you just put a tyre on the sort of grass on the left hand side and around you go. But we're going to pit here at the end of lap number 4. You see Alex Honey, in fact it's not Alex Honey, it's one of the drivers that overtook us at the beginning, also deciding to pit. So we did say this in the strategy guide that I did believe you could start on the hard tyres, pit at the end of lap 4 and probably get 9 laps out the mediums. So that is the plan for this one. We're on the medium tyres, we've got a bit of clear track in front of us as well, so that's all good. We start putting in some competitive lap times and let's see where we're going to end up in this one. So we're jumping forward here to the end of lap number 5. This is our out lap after our pit stop. You can see the group of cars in front of us have been fighting. There's been a couple of penalties dished out there. Burst 0185 seems to have picked up a 1 second penalty. It's going to be slow out the last corner. Honda NSX not very good down the straight. We're on the outside, we're on our fresh tyres. I'm going to guess that Honda is on worn mediums at this point. Round the outside, we've got just the car just enough ahead, and we're up into 14th position. A little bit of clear track ahead of us as well, so we should be able to put in a pretty good lap here, close down these cars in front of us, And as we jump forward here to lap number 7, that's exactly what's happened. Again, more fighting in front of us, it's all good. Car running wide there, that's another position made up. And the one-stoppers, they started on the mediums, it should be about to pit either on this lap or maybe the next one. That's going to give us a rough idea where we're going to end up in this race. But you can see there's a fairly big group of cars, you can see at least 4 or 5 cars in front of us. So if all of them have got a pit stop to make, we are in pretty good shape to sort of make a pretty good charge up through the field. 2 cars pitting into the pit lane there as predicted, and the Spaniard there has picked up a 1 second penalty, so I'm not entirely sure why he got that 1 second penalty, but as we're about to see, he's not very happy about it, and he thinks it's the French driver in front of him that is responsible. Permission given for the punt, and off we go. French driver is sent into the boonies in the biggest possible way, and the Spaniard picks up a 5 second penalty for his dribbles, and a little bit of karma, loses the rear end of the car and goes into the barrier, probably picking up another 1.5 second penalty for that. So I'm not entirely sure why he got the 1 second penalty, wasn't very happy about it, blamed the French driver, punted him off and picked up a further 5 seconds penalty. So a clap for the penalty system there. So we're now on to lap number 10. We've been behind this Lancer or Subaru, I can't tell which it is from that angle, for a few laps, unable to make a move, but eventually we managed to get enough momentum out of the last corner into turn number 1 and get the move made. Now a little sort of bit of good racecraft there from that driver. He knew we were quicker, we knew we were going for the overtake, and he actually broke a little bit early into turn 1 just to make it as easy as possible for me to make the pass and cost himself the minimum amount of time. So that's definitely something you should be looking to bring into your driving. But that was to be the end of the racing for this one. 5th position we finished in. Alex Zoni GT, 6 seconds up the road in 4th. If that was as high as he could get, then I think 5th is probably the best we could have done in that one. So a pretty good result for our first race out in the BMW M6. Interesting car around this track. It seems to be very leery on the back end when you initially start driving it, but once you start to get top of it, it seems to be able to put in some pretty good lap times. It's pretty competitive and it's actually quite nice on its tyres as well. This race in general, a lot of cars that seem to be very usable. It's good to see lots of different cars on the grid. But we were sticking with the BMW M6 for this second race. So the first race there that we looked at went pretty much as perfect as could be expected. Cars were getting out of our way, we were getting overtakes made up a lot of positions, and never had any real issues. All we did was really keep our nose out of trouble for the majority of it. Could we repeat that process? So again, sort of a few drivers losing it on lap number 1. It's a fairly common occurrence at this track, particularly towards the back. It's a very tricky track, Brands Hatch. Not a lot of margin for error, particularly if you go side by side with another car into the vast majority of the corners. It can very often end in tears. So far though, most drivers, bar that Audi we seen spinning at turn number 4, have survived, but the yellow flags are out as we approach Sheen. Now correct me, that might not be Sheen, I believe it's called Sheen, but I'm sure somebody will correct me in the comments if it's not. Yellow flags were out there, never actually managed to see what the issue was, and it doesn't seem to be anybody serving a penalty up here. Now I didn't fancy taking on this gaggle of cars in front of me, so midway through the lap we have decided we are going to go for the 2-stopper. So we're in the hard tyres here. Remember what I was telling you about the pit lane in the strategy guide? Why you've got to be pretty careful on entry. You can see that wasn't very good from me, but as we exit the pits we had the SR down, thought we got away with it, but no, a 1.5 second penalty for the barrier collision as we were entering the pits. So, not following my own advice there, I think it would be fairly fair to say. Now this race wasn't going very well even up till this point, and it's about to get a whole lot worse. I get caught out here by the speed braking. I was going to sort of fling it up the inside there. He moved slightly to the right just as I was going to do it. We punt him, not off the track, but we do punt him wide. We pick up a 2 second penalty for our troubles. Now here's a little bit of a controversial moment here. There's a kind of thought process with a lot of the sort of GT community that if you bump a driver or punt a driver or hit a driver off, that you should wait for that driver to come back on. I don't think you really should. Do you do that in real racing? No. Is it real racing? No. But at the end of the day, if you make a genuine mistake and sort of hurt another person's race, that is part of racing. So I didn't wait for the driver there. I picked up a 2 second penalty. He was going to get past me anyway. just my thoughts on the kind of the sort of waiting on another driver you put them. I'm just not 100% on board with it. Accidents just happen. It's just part of racing. This race was to finish with a pretty sweet overtake though. Aston Martin went defensive to the inside of the hairpin. We moved to the outside very late. We managed to just have enough grip and traction to get round the outside. Aston Martin driver gave me the room and the space, and that felt like a very nice overtake. For what had been a pretty bad race, it was nice to finish it on a little bit of a high. But it was only a 12th place finish, not ideal. It just goes to show you that the two-stopper, which is what we did there, didn't work. And a couple of small mistakes can really set you back into this one. So moving on to race number 3, we have changed car. We've actually changed the day as well. First 2 races were done on Monday. I believe this race that I'm about to sort of commentate on here was maybe done on Tuesday. But for this race we're in the Jaguar F-Type Group 3. One of my favourite cars in the class. Not a particularly common car I have to say, but to me it's just got a very nice balance to it. Very predictable, no surprises with it, good top end, and just kind of has generally served me pretty well in the game. So coming towards the end of lap number 1 here, we're in a pretty dicey situation, lots of cars close by, sort of poke our nose up the inside of the Lancer there, give them room on the outside, gets the better momentum, we sort of filter back into our 14th place. But again, coming into turn 1 here, not a nice situation, cars moving about, very close in front of us, very close behind. You've got to be so careful in these situations, particularly with the sort of 1 second penalties that are very easy to pick up for the little taps on the rear. But so far up till this point, everybody has pretty much managed to keep it clean, keep it on the track, and avoid those penalties. So coming towards the back straight here, lap number 2, it's an Alfa Romeo in front of us. That's not a common car either. I'm talking about the Jaguar not being common. I think this is the only time I've seen an Alfa Romeo all week. Obviously not a great car down the straight, the Jaguar pretty strong down the straight. We've got a little bit of a slipstream, we've got a little bit of a run. Italian going defensive, we're going to try and go down the outside here. You're never going to really make an overtake work on around the outside of that corner there, but if you can get the cut back, as we have, then you can have the inside here for turn number 6. We've got enough of our car alongside, we make the move stick, and we're up into 13th position. But on the approach down to Sheen, even though we're a full car length ahead of the Italian, they stick their nose in a very silly place. So easy if you just make the slightest collision with a car here to send them off the track, so I had to keep turning to the right just to avoid that happening to me. Both lucky to avoid a penalty in that instant. I do lose a further position to the Mercedes of the Finn, and I wasn't particularly happy with that one at all. Just poor racecraft on the Italian's part, just not an overtaking position, and just basically cost all 3 of the cars there more time to the cars in front. So we were now stuck behind this Finn in the Mercedes for a few laps. We've jumped forward here to lap number 5. Had a few stabs at an overtake, but we weren't having a whole lot of luck. But we were now starting to get held up pretty badly, so it was time to try something a little bit different. So we're going to try and go round the outside of turn number 1. Now this is not advisable at all, unless you've got the compliance of the other driver. Thankfully, Finn has good racecraft and awareness, gives us the space. We're still side by side here into the hairpin, but we've now got the inside for turn number 3. Got to leave enough space on the right there for the Finn's car, and we've made that move stick as we approach turn number 4. So good racing there with the Finnish driver. Gave us a room into turn number 1 and turn number 2, and allowed us to make a pretty decent overtake, even if I do say so myself. So we're on to lap number 8 now, and we're back behind the Italian and the Alfa Romeo, who we had with a little bit of an incident with earlier on. They run wide at the hairpin. We tried to take a tight line, get on the throttle a bit too early, but we lost the back end. Unfortunately, that gap opens up again. But the Italian did now seem to be struggling with that Alfa Romeo. It's a long while since I've driven the Alfa Romeo, but I always remember it starts off feeling like a very nice car. But then once the rear tyres go, it becomes very sketchy indeed. So a good run down the back straight here on the Alfa. It's got no straight line speed. Coming into turn number 5 here, we've got a much better run, and we're going to show the Italian that we can stick our nose in silly places as well. Slight nudge, a little bit dodgy, very big bit dodgy to be perfectly honest with you. Naughty of me, I think would be the kindest way to put it. But let me know in the comments what you thought of that move. Did the move by the Italian earlier on in the race warrant such a response from myself when I caught back up to him? Sometimes hindsight is a wonderful thing. Looking back on it, it's maybe a little bit harsh of me. But it is what it is, and on our merry way we went. Now we were on the non-stop here in the Jaguar. We're on lap number 8. We're looking for some drivers to pit here and try and make up some positions, but I think we lost too much time in the opening stages to really take advantage of the pit stops. However, as we come to lap number 12, there's a group of 3 cars in front of us that have been fighting and sort of costing each other time. Now their driver in P number 7 is Erie Is. He's on his Erie Isn't account in this one. I'd raced him several times tonight, or the night that I'd recorded this race. He was doing a no stop as well in the Porsche, and I seen that he'd picked up a 3-second penalty there for what I now know was ignoring yellow flags. At the time I just thought it was a minor contact penalty. So he was going to lose that 5th position, both to the Porsche behind him and to myself. So unfortunate for Erie Is there. He'd been driving that Porsche maybe 5 or 6 races he'd done on the no stop. He'd been making it work really, really well. Certainly better than what I was managing. I was trying it in the Jaguar. It was not too bad, but towards the end of the race, particularly the last 2 laps, the rear tyres were spent. Once I got the brake balance adjusted a little bit, it was a little bit better. And we were sort of able to keep a better pace towards the end of the race. Now 6th place there is making a mistake out of Sheen, and Rory there serving his penalty. It means that we are promoted up into that 5th place. So from 17th on the grid, I think we started this one, we were on to a pretty good result. Now midway through the last lap and coming into with a few corners to go, I did notice that the sort of drivers behind me were squabbling quite a lot. And at this point I now noticed that Erie Isn't was back up into 6th place. And looking behind there, I could see a little bit of a gap to the drivers behind, so given that the penalty that he got was absolute BS, I decided I was going to let him have that 5th place back. But if you look behind there, you can see he wasn't in the mood to take my charity, which is fair enough. He sort of slowed down behind me, so we just crossed the line before the other cars caught up there. But that was to be, the 14th place we started in that one, not 17th, but 9 places made up, clean race bonus, pretty good result in the Jaguar there. It was a fairly strong field, that one as well. As I said, Erie Isn't was streaming at the time, so some pretty decent drivers were sort of logging on and racing. So that's going to be the end of the video. I'll leave you with the post-race chat here. I don't think there's anything that interesting, to be honest with you said. All very civilised from what I can remember. But please let me know what you think of some of the incidents in this race. Give me your honest thoughts on them. I won't shy away from doing if I've done anything wrong, stuff like that. And with that, all that's left to say is please hit that like button, please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until the next video, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.